Exercise 13-26, Treasury Stock and Stockholders Equity section of balance sheet. So here the problem states Sebastian Corporation has had the following stockholders' equity on November 30th. And you here to view the stockholders' equity. I'll close out of that for now. On December 30th, Sebastian Corporation purchased 275 shares of Treasury stock at $14 per share. And then read the requirements. The requirements, you can see each of the pieces of the problem here. We'll close out of that for now too. All right, since we are purchasing Treasury stock, which way is cash going? Is cash going up or cash going down? In this case, cash is going to go down, and we have to list debits first. So since cash is going down with a credit, I'm going to go ahead and skip the first line. We'll input cash here, because it's usually easier for students to understand. So how much do we pay for this treasury stock? We bought the 275 shares times, get our calculator out, $14 per share. 275 times 14. That amount equals $3,850. Go ahead and enter that in here as a credit to lower cash. And we can go ahead and also enter it in as the debit here for treasury stock. So we'll go ahead and input that account here too. So we're debiting treasury stock common, since we are getting treasury stock in return for the cash. So remember, treasury stock is a contra equity account. Contra means it's the opposite of equity. Equity increases on the credit side, and since treasury stock is a contra equity, it's going to increase on the opposite side. Therefore, as we buy treasury stock, it's going to go up on the debit side. So that is why we are debiting treasury stock. And then we have our explanation here at the bottom is purchased treasury stock. And let's go ahead and check our answer. Nice work. Okay, and then for requirement 2, we prepare the stockholders' equity section of the balance sheet at December 31st, 2025. Assume the balance in retained earnings is unchanged from November 30th. We'll go ahead and scroll down here. So now we'll go ahead and open this window all the way here. That way we'll have a little bit more room to work with. And then open our stockholders' equity table here. So basically everything is the same as before, and this is the before info. The only thing that's changed is we purchased some treasury stock. So treasury stock has been debited and cash has gone down. So this is the only difference. So we're going to go ahead and match everything up between these tables. So under paid in capital, we have that common stock $5 par value, 1,300 shares authorized, 290 shares issued, 15 shares outstanding. And that amount is $1,450. Then next we have paid in capital in excess of par common. And that is here. And that is for $13,500. So just copying all these values over. And this is where we have our retained earnings under total paid in, after total paid in capital. We have the retained earnings. And that is going to be for $57,000. So again, matching the other table. And here is the only difference between the two tables. It's the treasury stock common 275 shares at cost. And this treasury stock is always listed at cost, so we can keep track of any gains or losses on it. So that is why we have at cost and not at par value. And then what amount do we use for the treasury stock? Well, we'll just look back up here, scroll back up. It's that $3,850 debit for treasury stock. So that is what we will be using down here. And one last thing before we do the math, is this a positive number or a negative number? In other words, what does treasury stock do to stockholders' equity? Well, remember, treasury stock is a contra equity, therefore it lowers it. So I'm going to put a minus here. You can either do the parentheses or the negative. So then that is a negative 3,850. Make sure you put in the parentheses to make it negative, and then we can go ahead and add these through. So that 14,950, let's go ahead and add that in for the total paid in capital plus the 57,000 retained earnings. And then we're going to go ahead and subtract out the 3,850, and that amount is going to be 68,100. So let's go ahead and enter that in. And then I'm going to check our answer. It's a little bit off on the right here, outside of the screen range where I'm hitting check answer. And it says fantastic. Okay. And so for requirement 3, how many shares of common stock are outstanding after the purchase of treasury stock? So shares outstanding after the purchase of treasury stock equals. Well, now remember we had 290 outstanding shares at the beginning of the problem, and then we bought back the 275. So if we do some quick math there, we get the 290 minus 275, and that equals 15 shares outstanding. We also have that here. So 15 is our number of outstanding shares. Okay, and let's go ahead and check our answer. Well done.